In 2023, clients are pretty much essential to play the game. They're used to make your game smooth and functional. Over the years, people have been trying to capitalize on this trend and make their clients possibly compete with Badlion and Lunar Client, and become very successful. This has happened with clients such as Feather and Delta Client, but then led to a massive downfall in the 1.8 Minecraft community. So in this video, we will be looking deeper on the internet to find out the truth of what happened to Melon, Solar Tweaks, and another client that probably no one has heard of, but was made for a popular server you may know. Melon Client is probably something you haven't heard in a while. The initial end of the client happened pretty much 2 years ago, and the reason why the client died is pretty stupid. Anyway, let's go back to the beginning. Elon Musk Melon, no, I'm not talking about Elon Musk, the guy who made Tesla, and Derpold, the two owners, never really thought Melon Client would turn into anything. Although quickly after they first created the client, it caught some attention. So they decided that they were going to turn Melon into an actual client. They hired staff members and developers to make this client an official one to compete with other clients to possibly be very successful. Although the downfall began when Elon Musk Melon, one of the owners, decided to work less and rely on the developers to work on the client, which was a huge mistake for him. The actual launch of Melon Client didn't go as planned either, so apparently the client released early in the Discord as a .jar file, meaning that you could see all of the code in the client, which isn't a good thing. There were countless numbers of people just trying to download the client when it wasn't there because they deleted it after making a fatal mistake. It was no longer released when they supposedly said it would, and that made the Discord server very chaotic. It kinda sucks for the people who spent a long time developing the client for it all to just be released to the public where they can just copy and paste it as their own. The server had horrible management, and that was the one thing bringing it down. First, Elon Musk Melon decided to completely rely on developers, then chaos happened. From here on out, it seemed like this client would never recover, which it didn't. And when I say developers, I'm mainly talking about the one person called Kameson. He was pretty much the only one at the time working on the client, which is pretty funny. Even though Kameson was the only one working, Elon Musk Melon decided to be greedy and take a lot of the money split to himself, and only gave a small amount to the actual developers making the client. This situation honestly just isn't right. At all, and I don't understand why he did this. This honestly reminds me of Twitch when they switched up from a 70-30 split, giving the creators 70% when they went over to a 50-50 split. A lot of drama happened here, causing many Twitch streamers to go over to YouTube. This clearly upset the developers, and Kameson stopped developing Melon, or supposedly got kicked out or demoted. If that never happened, then Melon Client might have been a thing in today's world. In the end, that could have been the next client to become big. The horrible management and unprofessionalism is one of the main obstacles that brought the client to its death. Elon Musk Melon made a video talking about the official end of Melon. I personally was excited to try out the client, and I remember doing so when they first released. I don't quite remember how good it was, but I was pretty hyped at the time. I also got recent news that Derpold, one of the owners, and I think Elon Musk Melon was working on a kids channel like how Not Nico and Deadfear switched. I haven't heard anything since, but I'm honestly just surprised. I also remember getting a Twitter DM from Elon Musk Melon asking to see if he could edit to get some money. Anyway, the next client that we're going to be talking about is even crazier. But before we continue, I would highly appreciate it if you liked this video and possibly subscribed. I'm really demotivated with YouTube at the moment, and doing those two things could really mean the world to me. But anyways, let's continue. Solar Tweaks probably has one of the craziest stories in the history of Minecraft clients, and the reason for its downfall is shocking. It all started in August 2021, when Lunar Client's free look was disabled on Hypixel and many other servers. Many players were disappointed and wanted the mod back. One player in particular, named Especially, created a custom build of Lunar Client with the mod enabled, but with none of Lunar's new features. If you didn't know, Lunar Client has all of its source code public, so anyone can grab it. Shortly after, Specially uploaded a video explaining how to turn the mod on. A fellow Bedwars player named Sayaz messaged him on Discord, and together they created a new build of the client using Lunar's source code that enabled freelook, and could also run Lunar's new features. This escalated and became the first version of Solar Tweaks. After a few months, they developed the client to the point where it could run many questionable mods that Lunar did not have, allowing players with illegal or cracked Minecraft accounts to use the client, and had all of Lunar's cosmetics for free. However, this would not last, as their Discord server would be terminated and Moonsworth, the owner of Lunar Client, would end up sending them a cease and desist letter. Reasonably. In May 2023, they ended up ceasing operations and shutting down the client for good. There have been countless numbers of attempts by people trying to find ways to bypass the deletion of the client, all leading to failure. I don't promote the recreation of this client at all. Many people got upset at Moonsworth, the people who made Lunar Client, but it was really entirely reasonable that they did this. The last client that's going to be talked about is a client you probably have never heard of. Ranked Bedwars Client. The Ranked Bedwars Client, yeah, you're probably as shocked as I am hearing about this. I actually didn't know this existed at all. Probably because I wasn't as invested in Ranked Bedwars as I am now, but I found out because one of my server members in my Discord, which you should totally join, told me after watching part 1 of this video. Unfortunately, there wasn't much information about this client due to it being a little random and confusing, but it's still pretty crazy. If you didn't know, Ranked Bedwars is a competitive Bedwars game mode hosted by the community. A 4v4 game mode with an elo system that turns Bedwars to the next level. I actually have a guide on how to play in the description, but anyway, let me continue. The client started its development when a lot of other clients started being produced, and they were being very successful. The owners of the old Ranked Bedwars server were DMing developers from other clients, including Flx. He was currently working on Glacier Client, which unfortunately doesn't exist today, but he got a DM from Seth, who is the owner of Ranked Bedwars. He was being paid over $100 to finish the launcher and was sent a Figma file. The designs of the client were very unique, and I'm quite upset that these were never used. I'll show them all on screen for you to look at. The unfortunate side of things was that Seth was never online to answer any questions. Flx was kind of blocked off from the actual client even though he was a developer. Strange, right? He wasn't the only developer too, as you could see on the GitHub that there were many other people. There was some drama in the background, and the new owner of Ranked Bedwars, no longer Seth, was Salazar's Revenge. So sorry if I butchered your name, but he tasked Flx to rebrand the client entirely to OP Client. This was because the old Ranked Bedwars server was involved in a lot of controversy, and the new one was made by a lot of their main players, so they could no longer use their name. But anyway, Flx was then ghosted and everything became a complete mess. He was literally sitting there waiting for a response day by day, but nothing seemed to change. Flx was offered to be paid half, but was busy on holidays, so it never happened. I really wish this client became an actual thing because just looking at the launcher, it was really clean and filled with animations. It's so unfortunate that Flx never was paid because they seem like such a nice person. He never got to see the client himself and assumed it was never quite finished. Shout out to Flx, I'll link his Discord in the description. For giving me all of this information, couldn't have this client without him. These stories are really interesting and I'm shocked all of these things even happened. Let me know your opinion on this in the comments. I'll like every single comment. Like I said in the disclaimer, if I remember to add it, no hate to anyone mentioned in this video. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. I'd appreciate it if you could consider subscribing and liking it so the YouTube algorithm blesses me. I'll create a part 3 on this topic if we get 1,000 likes. See y'all later. Peace.